motherfucker.
Dude, I hate basing. I sure doesn't make another hit YouTube video.
Where's
I really can't
Phantom
stand another
Horn?
hit YouTube video.
I hate everything. I hate everything he does. He's not even a cool guy. In fact, he's dumb and stupid.
No, thank you, sir. No, thank you.
Who the hell is that? Oh no!
Woo! Welcome to paradise, boys.
Oh no!
It's time to learn.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about, I guess you would call her a lol cow, Jennifer Diane Reitz, the many worlds of Jennifer Diane Reitz. I knew this person, sort of. Me and her used to post on the Gaming Steve forums in the lead up to the release of Spore. Remember Spore? You guys remember Spore?
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember what Spore was promising.
Yeah, we were all looking forward to it. But Jennifer, she's old as fuck. She turned 60 this year. So congratulations. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Hey, man.
You made it. Okay. So
Is it possible for a 60-year-old to be a lol cow?
to be well,
Have you seen the presidential primary?
it hurts. Okay. So this is all so what everyone knows JDR4 mainly. Is my fly? No. What everyone knows JDR4 mainly is the Kokoro Wish. The Kokoro, Munchie.
Want to know my Kokoro Wish? That's a setup. It's a setup for you to say what it is.
Yeah. I was gonna say what it is! Okay. I mentioned it in the Sonichu lecture. It's the cartoon, that badly drawn, mouse-drawn MS Paint comic of this girl saying, Kokoro means heart. Heartfelt. Do you know what my Kokoro Wish is? It is this. And then a long sequence of her husband, I guess it's her husband, apologizing and lambasting himself for being such a fool and such a loser, for failing to deliver on the promise of making a video game. And then he says, here, I made a video game. Okay, so, yes, the Kokoro Wish comic. I'm sure I'll show it on screen so you know what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it already. The man in the Kokoro Wish comic is her husband. She is married. She has been married since 1982. She's in a 4-way polygamous marriage with Stephen Lepisto, her high school friend and programmer, Sandra Woodruff, founder of HappyPuppy.com, and Eldenath Davila, a medieval expert and costume designer.
You're talking about her or this character?
This is her.
This is real life.
She is the character.
These are real people.
This is no. Well,
Never been more lost.
this is an autobiocomic, but these comics I'm going to talk about are works of fiction. I'm mainly going to be focusing on her fictional stories.
I'm starting to understand why this is a spiral, because I'm already feeling like being lost in a maelstrom.
I have a thesis. I have a thesis that all of the stuff, the fiction that I'm going to be discussing today, all has its origins in an event. The same event that triggered the Kokoro Wish comic.
Okay, I'm hooked.
And I'll explain why at
I'm
the
in it
end.
now.
Did you?
That last name you read?
Eldenath Davila?
Birth name or?
I don't fucking know. I have no clue.
What country has names that sound like?
That one sounds kind of made up to me.
He's from the Middle Ages, literally.
I don't really know much about Sandra or Eldenath, but I know Stephen was a programmer, and Stephen is the guy in the Kokoro Wish comic. Okay, so now I know some things about her from her autobiocomic Impossible Things Before Breakfast. In 2005 and 2006, she wrote and drew a bunch of autobiocomics about weird, unexplainable. What's the word for
Paranormal?
Yeah, paranormal phenomena. Things that couldn't possibly be explained through science. 'Cause she's a very skeptical, person. She's very rational. But still, sometimes things just happen and there's no logical explanation. And it just makes you wonder. But one of them, she talks about the reason why she started making comics in the first place. And she says in that comic that in 2000, she had a mental breakdown because she had been trying and failing to make video games for 14 years. So back to 1986. And then, in the wake of this mental breakdown, she started creating comics. Tom, did you have a question?
I was going to say, so she's making comics like in her 40s. Like she started doing webcomics in
This
like
was
her mid-40s?
she turned 40 in the year 2000. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Kokoro Wish was not at 1986 specifically. That came later.
The Kokoro, I don't know exactly when the Kokoro Wish comic was made. It was made after 1986, probably shortly after. I don't know exactly when it was first made or posted.
God, analog lol guys.
All right. In the year 1991, Jennifer and Steven, the guy from the comic, her husband, they made a game for the Amiga. It was called Boppin'. And Boppin' is a puzzle game. And it has these like funny geometric triangle people, and they throw blocks, and it's about stacking blocks. But it is adults only because it features like gruesome graphic violence. Like when you lose, these like funny triangle people commit like bloody seppuku on themselves.
This sounds amazing.
I haven't actually seen it. I just know that it sold 284 copies.
Well,
That's not
Respectable.
terrible.
It's
for
terrible.
The old days.
I don't think that's very
well,
good.
like,
For a 90s game on the Amiga?
Was it made by
No.
just the two of them, or like?
I think so.
Okay.
That's not so bad for an independent project.
Yeah, but I
Especially
mean-
without the internet.
Return on
Through-
investment
through
was
a
not
real-
great. Yeah.
I've never sold 280.
was it bopping?
I don't know. I don't have an Amiga, so I can't play
Was
it.
it pulling? Was it
Twisted. Fuck it.
Yeah.
No, we'll never know. We'll never know. But okay, so I mentioned their other spouse, Sandra Woodruff. Together with her, they founded this website called HappyPuppy.com. And apparently, in 1996, HappyPuppy.com was the most visited games website on the internet. Wow. It was big. They sold the domain for like $100,000.
Hey.
Yeah, but then like they lost all the money after the .com bubble burst or whatever. And I guess the site they would mostly like host and link to like other games on the internet, and it was just like a portal to find games you could play on the
It's
internet.
like what every website was in the 90s, I feel like.
Yeah, but HappyPuppy.com
We
was
need to
was the biggest and best of them, I guess, and they sold it for a pretty penny. She also made, again, in conjunction with her family and one other person who I don't have. It's not important. She and a bunch of other people made OtakuWorld.com, which similarly was just like a portal site. They would host, translations of anime. They would host games from Japan that they had ported. Just wallpapers, for your desktop. AMV skins, I assume. Stuff like that. And also, she ran a website called transsexual.org because she's a transsexual, and she made a website talking about it. She's not a medical professional, so I don't think maybe you should take anything on that site as like gospel, but that it's still up today. It's still there. It exists.
For context, what did transsexual mean in 1998?
Oh, I don't know. She's a male to female transgender. She has had surgery and all that.
Oh, okay.
So that. And I don't know exactly when. I think she transitioned in her adulthood, but I'm not 100% sure. But she's female for the whole period of time that we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
So on otakuworld.com, because she is mostly an artist, but she also could program some, I think. Steven was the programmer. She was more of the artist. But she made a program called Kamishibai, which I believe is a Japanese term for like paper doll theater. And the program is basically just a little like application that opens on your computer, and you can make a sort of like choose your own adventure, like illustrated stories with it. And she made a couple of those. And one of the ones there was one she made about like an octopus samurai, and it's just kind of a goofy little story. I forget what it's called. But the other one she made was a short little choose-your-own-adventure story called Pastel, Defender, Heliotrope. And it is a story about a super-powered doll who is basically her city is being attacked by this girl in like a helmet that shoots laser beams, and you have to go. You meet this. You have to go and attack her and stop her from destroying the city, and you have to be like, oh, she's shooting a fireball. Dodge left. Oh, I dodged the attack. Oh, I dodged right. Oh, no, I got hit. Oh, better try again. Yeah, and it's just a little story, and it would later be expanded upon over here.
The title is amazing.
Pastel Defender Heliotrope.
Yeah.
It is. Really makes you wonder what the fuck's going on with it, doesn't it? But at the time, it was just a very small little battle story. And then 2 years after that, she had what she describes as a mental breakdown, which she was like, oh, I've spent my whole life trying to make a video game. I've failed. Everything I've ever done is a failure. I can't bear it anymore. And then she discovered webcomics. And then she devoted the next 10 years or so to making webcomics. She started out making them with only a mouse. She started with Unicorn Jelly, and Unicorn Jelly very proudly proclaims, this comic is drawn only with a mouse.
I just wanted to point out about the Kamishibai thing. That Kamishibai is this like traditional Japanese theater style where they have like a box they open up and they have like panels inside. So it's like very simplistic stories, and I think maybe if she's making like simple games, that's the idea she's thinking of it as like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a video game version of Kamishibai.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing to even know in 1998. Like, she's kind of a high tier.
She's an OG.
Yeah, she
made OtakuWorld.com in 95.
She was an OG weeb, like before like Adult Swim or any of that. She was in on the Japanese shit. She was like calling things kawaii like way before it was cool. That's what we're talking about.
And way after it became on.
So, 2000, she starts work on Unicorn Jelly. And Unicorn Jelly is a science fiction fantasy story that takes place in a universe called Trisselmeistan. And Trisselmeistan, one of the defining characteristics of all of her comics and all her stories is that they have a hyper, like fleshed out and explained physics, right? Like every universe has its own like completely separate cosmology. For example, in Trisselmeistan, there is not, the entire universe is filled with air, so there's no like void space. But instead of planets, you have these triangular plates that are called world plates. And the world plates are just sort of floating in the void, arranged in like a three-dimensional Sierpinski triangle arrangement. And there's no gravity. Instead, there's a force called linovection, which is basically just a universal law, is that objects between a certain size range all just fall down, like relative to the plates. But the plates themselves are too big. They're not affected by linovection. They stay stationary. There is a force called electance that is generated by these things called veils that are just kind of arranged throughout space. The electance veils will occasionally offshoot this, I think this massless crystalline stuff called shatteral. And so every, like, couple times a year on a world... Massless? I think
their energy.
I think, okay, well, shatteral's weird. A couple times a year there will be this thing called a shatteral storm, and this crystal stuff will start falling from the sky, and it will just kind of build up. And you don't get, like, hit by it. It doesn't, like, hit you and, like, cut you or crush you. But you can get, like, trapped in it and, like, suffocate. Yeah, so you have to, like, in a shatteral storm, you have to run to, like, open space somewhere where you can, like, not get, like, buried under it. That's how you survive.
Does it pass through you and just build, like, over you?
I think so.
That's fucking sick.
Because their creatures do get like sort of trapped in it, like they're frozen in an ice cube.
I just want to say, from my very limited exposure to the comics, they're like great and like cool and like looks
sick.
awesome.
Okay.
The art style is like straight. Okay, it's primitive,
They're a
but
little-
it's cute
Yeah,
and
it is.
awesome.
They're a little based.
Yeah,
right?
they seem based, just actually based.
The character art and like the faces, you could make the argument that they're kind of bad.
Sure.
Like they're kind of like mushy, sort of like pseudo anime.
I think they're cute.
Sometimes it's kind of cute. Some of like the like environmental drawings and like the drawings of like a big like. There's one shot in particular that I think she's particularly proud of, like in the Impossible Things Before Breakfast comic, where she describes starting to draw the comic and putting more and more of her energy into it. She shows herself drawing this one panel, and it's a panel of the world plate, spoilers, getting like cracked in half and smashed by like cosmic debris, and it looks fucking sick, especially considering it was drawn only with a mouse. But then, yeah, sometimes you'll have like a close-up like picture of a face, and it's just like really rough like mouse line, and the eyes like are not quite, and it's kind of like a mushy, like it looks like this, and it's like yeah. Nate.
Unicorn jelly is a pretty attractive design, though.
This guy?
Yeah.
Simple and clean.
Yes, exactly.
Making me feel Okay, so
Kawaii.
unicorn jelly. Great transition. So in the universe of Trissel-Mysan, there is what is called red life, which is like animals, humans, green life, plants, and white life, which is jellies and the jellies, and crystal beings and jelly beings.
So into this.
And
unironically, I'm in love with this story already.
wait, she uses a funny phrase to describe this one creature
Especially that unicorn jelly.
who he will go on to be called Uni, the unicorn jelly, and he is described in his bio page as a wretched little slime monster. And,
I was expecting the opposite direction.
no, but he has big dreams. And one day,
Why isn't this a cultural institution?
one day, a unicorn. He's just like this slime is just like a puddle on the ground, and one day a unicorn walks by and just pisses on him.
Oh.
And the unicorn pee turns him into a unicorn jelly.
Yeah.
He sprouts.
Good then.
He sprouts a horn. Well, it's later. Later, it seems like
It's cancerous, isn't it?
later it seems like the unicorn itself is actually a hallucination, and like he was near like some. There are these psychoactive plants that affect the jellies, and it seems like he was affected by them, and he merely hallucinated the unicorn, and it's actually just his belief in unicorn magic that makes him like this.
This is fucking
Okay.
deep.
But he's got like his horn is like powerful as shit. It can
So
like cut
Phantom
through
has
solid.
hope.
Yeah. If any, you just gotta believe, man. Just gotta believe. He could piss on himself.
Yeah.
And grow a magic
To
horn.
no avail.
I mean, he's been
I think
trying
this
it.
proves
No,
that deep down Phantom doesn't believe he's a unicorn. Not enough, at least.
he could try harder. He could do better.
I don't want to think that.
But where was I? There is a psychoactive flower that affects the jellies, and it seems like he just
What could that
hallucinated
be a metaphor for, I wonder?
the unicorn.
Psychoactive flower.
It is important. It's important for. There's another character, KY, is also a jelly who has dreams about Uni and like sees Uni in her dreams. And KY was like mutated by this flower, and she is like a freak. She's like a conical thing, and she wears a bow.
Wait, so is it psychoactive, or does it affect your physical body to touch this flower?
I think it both. Names.
So they're like a jelly creature also, KY.
Yes.
So they're literally KY jelly.
Yes.
As in sex.
Yes.
Is this intentional?
Yes.
Oh.
It has to be.
It must be. I would think so.
It could only be intentional.
Okay.
All right.
So fucking cool.
So, all right.
I love sex.
So Uni gets adopted by Lupico, who is a witch. She's like a shitty witch.
A human.
Well, yes. Later on, it's like actually she has some fae blood in her,
Well,
and like what
she's
that
a person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lupico is a witch. She's bad at magic. She never does any magic. It's like totally irrelevant to her character. But she's like a nice lady who takes care of Uni. And she gets contact. Someone in the village is like, "Hey, Lupico, help! My daughter's all fucked up. She got attacked by a crystal basilisk out in the desert. Come and help me with your magic." And she's like, "Well, I'll give it a shot." So she goes and she finds that this girl, she has all this like crystal shit like all through her body, and it's all like infecting her. And she doesn't know what to do. She's like, "I can't help." But Uni has unicorn magic, and like, I think he cries like a unicorn tear or bleeds a little unicorn blood, and it restores her. But she's not the same as she used to be. She's got all this crystal stuff up in her brain, and it makes her into this like super intelligent, like crystal quantum computing being, and that's Chow, which means butterfly. I think they say it does. Anyway, so Lupico adopts Chow as like a daughter, and together they. There's a whole bunch of like family drama about Lupico. She had like her mom like got killed because of a conflict between witches and alchemists. Like, witches and alchemists are two factions, and basically in this world, witches are only allowed to do certain kinds of science, magic. They call it magic, and alchemists are only allowed to do other kinds, and you're not allowed to combine them. Like alchemists are not allowed to put one lens in front of another. So they wear these like glasses that have like one big lens and one small lens over here, because and the reason why is because if you were to put two lenses in front of each other, you could create a telescope, and later they find a telescope and they realize that the triangular world they live on is just one world plate in this like giant like cosmos full of other world plates, and it is a big revelation for them. Yeah.
What does the actual world look like? Does it just look like our world, like from like on the surface, looking at it?
Yeah.
In person.
If you're on the surface of the world,
My imagination was just like floating literal discs in space with slimes on them up until a certain point.
The world plate is big. You can't like see the edge of it from anywhere unless you like travel pretty far to it. And on the world plate, there's like a big lake in the middle, and then there's like forests and deserts and stuff just kind of covering it. Like mostly it looks like our world, except that it's got these jellies beings, and the jellies live in these big like goopy like slime cities and stuff. It's pretty cool. The jellies are pretty sick. Right, so witches versus there's this conflict between the witches and the alchemists, and like later on, like the alchemists sort of try and pull a coup. They want to steal. I think they want to steal the. There's like these ancient laws, like, oh, we're not allowed to do these. Witches are allowed. Alchemists are not allowed to fly. Witches can fly. That's forbidden for alchemists.
What
Whatever.
advantages do the alchemists have? Because it seems like they just can't do all this stuff.
They have all the like other science. Like they build like tanks and walkers and stuff. Like alchemists do more of what you would consider like traditional science.
Right brain, left brain sort of stuff.
Yeah, sorta. Yeah,
Are these like gendered groups? Because witches are usually women, right? Okay.
No, it's not like that. Like it's just like two factions of society. But like Lupico's mom got involved with some shit with the leader of like the Alchemists Union, and her sister was like this high-ranking prostitute who tried who like inherited her house. And then she sent Lupico out to the desert, but then later on, Lupico has to she gets the house back. But then also the prostitute aunt also found KY, the mutant, and like raised her and called her like a good little girl. And KY liked that, so KY decided she was a girl now, even though slimes don't have gender. So now KY wears a bow.
Dude, sick.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
You said Jennifer, like the actual person, is skeptical by nature.
She describes herself as like very rational.
She's basically a scientist.
Scientifically minded.
Would you say that the world plates are a tacit endorsement of flat Earth, or is that just a coincidence?
Well, there's other universes that have other like arrangements. No, she describes our own universe. She calls our universe Mundus Mundus. And she just
Why does she do that?
there's a
To what end? What end?
She has a whole like taxonomical like categorization system of a universe where it's like you apply like a series of descriptors, and I don't remember them all because it's really complicated.
Okay.
But Mundus is the word that means Earth-like, and since our world is like the default,
It's the
Earth universe.
one.
Ours is like
Especially because of the name.
yeah, it's like Earth. It's Mundus, and then a bunch of other like subcategories.
Okay.
So there's all this stuff with Lupico, like learns her family secrets and family drama and gets involved in politics and stuff. And there's other characters in along the way. There's YY is like a little ogre man engineer dude. Texto and Zuzux are. I mentioned these guys because they'll come back later. Texto and Zuzux are a pair of just like psycho murderers who just go around killing people for fun, or like tricking people into killing people for fun. Like they're like my favorite is Texto and Zuzux. They get like a little girl, right, and like they lure her into an alley, and they do something to her, and then like they call for help. They call a guy over, and they're like, "This girl needs your help," and he's like, "Oh God, what can I do?" And he's like, "Here, you're gonna have to operate. Take this and stick it into her neck."
Oh no!
And he's like, "I'm gonna go get help. Just keep driving that blade into her neck. Like, remember, you're saving her." And they just leave him to do it, and he's like, "Okay." So Texto and Zuzux are just like sick fucks.
Yeah.
Million and Yasui are a pair of gay like mercenary warriors, and they know Texto and Zuzux. And they know these guys are evil, and they've been looking for them, and they want to put an end to their reign of terror. Philia is like basically the president of the world plate that they live on, and Foe is like a high-ranking general. So anyway, things happen. Yeah.
I'm just curious, is it fair to say that Lupico is the main character, or is it Uni?
I would say Lupico is the main character.
Okay.
Yeah, of Unicorn. I'm stepping on these flipping markers. Yeah, Lupico is basically the main character. And I think Lupico is to some extent like a self-insert of Jenny. They look the same. So they find... I'm not going to get into all the details. The point is they find a telescope, which is banned technology because you're not allowed to put lenses in front of each other. And they look through it and they realize, oh my god, there's other world plates out here. Oh, wait, sorry, I skipped something. Shadow storms start happening irregularly. They're supposed to happen at very regular intervals. And they're like, that's weird. That's not supposed to happen. In fact, a shadow storm hits at the wrong time, and the Jellies are not prepared for it, and the entire Jelly species is wiped out.
Oh my
All
god.
except for Uni and KY are the only ones that survive, tragically. So, and then one day, something that's never happened before occurs. Wind. Like, the air does not move in this universe, but one day, wind starts blowing, and everyone's like, what do we do? Like, what does this mean? What's happening? Philia, her, like, husband, I think, gets killed by, like, a brick that gets blown and, like, crushes his head.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What is the tone like of this story? Like,
It is, like, mostly... it starts out pretty... I would say it starts out pretty, not like happy-go-lucky, but just pretty kind of like...
slice of life.
Mostly, like, fantasy slice of life. You know, with, like, some focus on, like, some of the science fiction stuff, like the Shadow Storms and things like that. And, like, and then it gets more, like, hard sci-fi, and it gets more serious and tragic as it goes on.
How is this story presented? Like comic strips or like pages?
Mostly
or,
in, like, 3-panel
like
strips.
typical mid-2000s webcomic format?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now I think I get it.
Sometimes there's, like, a big, like, full-page spread, but...
I've just been suddenly sucked back to 2003 just trying to picture that.
And it's all in black and white. And remember, it's all drawn with a mouse. So, these weird phenomena starts happening. They investigate with the help of YY and Million and Yasui, and they discover this telescope, and they realize, okay, there are other worlds out there. Oh shit. There's, like, something that's, like, destroying worlds, and it's coming for us. There is actually a big, like, sort of wall of, like, falling debris that is just kind of sweeping through Trissel Mystan, just breaking, like, world plate after world plate after world plate. And they're like, well, darn, we gotta do something about that. So they build these, they hurry to build these arc ships, which are going to transport as many people as they can to a new world plate to avoid the stormfall, which is what they call this phenomenon. But, you know, there's a big, like, they have to, like, what the stormfall is the debris of other world plates that have been crushed. And so basically, as it sweeps through the universe, it gets bigger and bigger because the debris from each one just adds to the storm. Yeah.
What started that chain reaction,
Oh, God.
if anything?
Actually, I don't know if I can give you, like, an exact answer, but I know that we'll talk about that.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
involved in later stuff. The origin of the stormfall. So the stormfall is it's getting bigger and bigger. So they make these arc ships. In the stormfall, like a spaceship from another presumably more advanced world plate lands. And so our main characters have to, like, jump on it and, like, fly it to where the arc ships are, and they jump on the arc ships. And by the way, remember, Chow is, like, a super intelligent crystal brain being. She has all this, like, important data on her, in her mind, that she remembers that was destroyed from, like, the world's archives. So she uses that as, like, bargaining power to get herself onto the ship with Philia, and they have to leave the world plate behind. Everyone's dead. The entire civilization is destroyed. There's, like, maybe 100 people escape on 2 arc ships, and they go through space, and they have to pass through an electance veil, and it's very painful and damaging, and, like, melts a bunch of their skins off, and,
All right.
Well, no, their ship is fine. The other ship, the ship commanded by Commander Foe, a bunch of his soldiers get all messed up by it. But they land on this new world plate, And on this new world plate is only jellies. There are no humans, so they are basically like, they're alien invaders. And there's this like sort of 1950s like, oh, they came from another world plate, like noir series of panels where like from a jelly's perspective he sees these like humans coming over, and jelly society just goes nuts and is torn apart in terror. And rightly so, because immediately Commander Foe is like, all right, well, there's only so many resources, it's time to genocide the jellies. And they do that for a while. And, I don't know how much to get into individual characters. There's, like, Texto ends up getting on the Ark ship. Million and Yasui are an item. Yasui ends up falling off the ship, but, like, before he falls, like, he gets Texto to promise to be good. Like like a weird power play, and so from then on, like Texto, he's still evil, but he has to like act good. And Million, who remember Texto was like his mortal enemy, but now Texto is good because he promised Yasui. So Texto is like Million's last connection to Yasui now that Yasui's dead. So Million sort of like, I don't know if he falls in love with Texto, but he sort of like really starts caring for him, even though he hates him because he's his mortal enemy. It's pretty based. So anyway. They set about building a new society on this new world plate, and they start out doing it by committing genocide against the jellies. But Cho, who remember is she has crystals in her brain, which makes her super intelligent. But also the crystal and the jellies are this white life; they're like related to each other. So she's like, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna go and try and find a different solution. So in like the dead of night, she like goes off to sea. Nate.
Do Uni and KY, who are jellies, have anything to say about this jelly genocide?
One presumes they don't like it.
Presumes, indeed.
Well, actually, there's a moment where Chow is asleep, and like the crystals from her head like contact with KY's jelly flesh, and she has a vision of Lupico dying as an old woman, and she sees a bunch of other things, including she sees herself killing and dissecting KY. And KY sees this too. So when the vision ends, KY is like, whoa, shit, get the fuck away from me. Like what's up with that? But it turns out that just happens. She does that. She kills KY, dissects her, chops her up to discover her jelly secrets. And then in the dead of night, she goes off to sea. And then Commander Foe discovers that a bunch of these people are planning on, basically revolting. Like they're waiting for Chow to come back and then overthrowing Foe so they don't have to commit genocide against the Jellies anymore. And he's going to start executing them because that's treason. But then Chow comes back and she's got these giant like slime walkers. And she's converted like the entire race of Jellies into basically KYs. They're all like weird conical freaks, and they like love humanity, and they're loyal servants and stuff, and they make food for them, and they build cities for them, and it's just beautiful. It's perfect society.
But you said that Chow had dissected KY.
Yes.
But now she's like an ally of the jellies?
Well, KY is dead, but
because she killed her.
She took whatever she learned from KY and did something to the other jellies to turn them into whatever KY was.
She straight sacrificed her for science with no hesitation.
Yeah.
For the greater good.
For the greater good of humanity. To create a loyal race of slave dog jellies that would serve us unquestionably.
This is exactly what the fucking scientists and all the warriors from Animorphs were missing. They were like, oh, I'm too hesitant to, kill this couple people to save the universe. But meanwhile, fucking Shouts up here just like, oh, like my friend, like immediately is like, I'll fucking bisect you so I can narrow some more secrets.
Let's see what your guts
all
are
around to get along really well.
Yeah.
We both knew what needed to be done.
But what of Uni? What of Uni through all this?
Well, that's a great question, because on the night that Chow leaves to go find the jellies and do whatever she does to make peace with them, Uni just disappears.
Okay.
And is never seen again.
Never?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Never seen again. Nobody knows what happened to him.
Okay.
Just later on...
Is it mentioned in the story?
Yeah, Lupico is just so there's a rebellion at first because people are like, hey, Chow's taken over everything. We don't like that. She can't be, they call her the Rectrix. She can't be Rectrix for life. We didn't elect her. This is bullshit. So she just abdicates power. But then, like, a generation later, she comes back and is like, okay, but no, I'm going to be Rectrix, though. And she rules for 400 years, and everyone grows old and dies, and it's pretty based. And then we see, Lupico is an old woman. Lupico has a daughter, and every day she takes this big bucket of tea out to the wilderness and puts it down, hoping that Uni will come back. And, like, he never does. Uni just disappeared one day, and nobody ever knew why or what happened to him.
So the title character just fucks off from the entire story.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think she just wasn't interested in him anymore.
She says that, like, Mama always used to tell me that magic is like a friend. If you ignore it, you'll lose it. And when real magic comes along, you gotta nurture it. You gotta treasure it. Maybe I didn't treasure Uni enough, and that's why he's gone.
Wait. She said that she could bring him back if she wanted to at any time.
I get it.
Ben, I thought this would be stupid like everything you like.
I'm sorry,
lied
not
to
this
me.
time.
Wait, was that an in-universe quote? Or
Yeah,
is that
that's in universe. That's what
oh.
she's. I mean, she's just speculating on, like, why did Uni leave?
Oh,
maybe
okay.
this is why. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, flash forward to, like, centuries and the last time we see Chow. Chow is like an old ass woman, hundreds of years old, like 400 years old, and like some historians, they've developed photography, right? Mm-hmm. This is the new technology, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go take a picture of the Rectrix. This might be the only like photograph of the Rectrix that ever exists in history, so we gotta go do it. And they go to see her, and she's like, I don't care if you take my picture. No, I gotta tell you some important stuff. So they go to the underside of the world plate, and she shows them some artifacts that are like, these are not from us. These are not from the Jellies. These are from like a completely separate being from not just another world plate, but from a whole other universe entirely. I think it's the Kralni, but I could be wrong. But it doesn't matter. These are creatures from another universe. These are their artifacts. And she's like, hey, let me tell you how humans came to Trisselmeistan. There was a thing called the multiversal rain, which was basically these bubbles that pass between universe, and they pass through a world, our world, Mundus Mundus, and they basically copy-pasted like spherical sections of Earth, and then they moved through the interdimensional space, and they just passed through Trisselmeistan and just deposited these big like chunks of Earth in Trisselmeistan, and that is how humans came to live here. This was like supposed to just be a slime world, but humans got like copy-pasted here through this multiversal rain phenomenon. And that's like the last thing Chow ever says. And then her fucking crystal basilisk blood like explodes out of her, and she turns into a fucking crystal basilisk and then detonates herself. And that's it. And then in the far future, humanity is like spacefaring, and they got this like supercomputer. It's the Chow stands for Computational Heuristic Organocrystalline Unit, and it like runs all their shit, and it runs their spaceships, and it's crystal computer technology, and that's the future. Munchie.
I feel like the same way I get when I watch Ancient Aliens, like scared because I know it's true.
You can't prove it's not. I dare you to try. So that's Unicorn Jelly. That took 3 years.
That ending was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's a little based. How long have I been going, by the way? Anyone know?
I'm like 40 minutes, I think.
Okay.
Let me adjust your mic real quick before you get into the next section.
So any questions about... Oh, yeah?
I'm going to move it. You keep brushing it, I think.
Sorry.
I'm going to put it...
Very cringe.
This just is great. Like, this entire thing. She's not a lolcow. She's just...
I'm not seeing the lolcow angle here at all.
Well, I'm sure that the writing is quite awkward in this, right?
Sometimes it's pretty awkward. There's a lot of... I'm really just giving you, like, the highlight
This
plot
comes
points.
across to me like very high level autism, but also very high level intelligence at the same time. Like she clearly
It's
knows
cohesive.
lots of things.
Yeah,
Like,
there's definitely, like, a lot of thought put
the
into all
sci-fi
of this.
concepts are fucking pretty
The
high
fact
level.
that
Like, there's way more to the physics of Trisselmeistan than I went into here. It's pretty cool. Like, you'll be reading the comic, and like all the time there'll be like hey, here's an alternate comic for the day, and you'll find just like a huge like diagram showing like here's what all the vegetation in Trisselmeistan looks like. Here's how here's the mechanism by which gravity works. here's like the periodic table of elements in Trisselmeisten, and it's based on like a triangular grid formation and da 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 da. And
Excuse me?
there's like audio dramas that she made, like in character audio
What
dramas.
do those sound like?
Awkward. Because I think it's just like her
The
and
scope of this is incredible.
her spouses just like kind of goofily like reading.
There's a new level.
Have
They do it really
Have they
goofy.
been in like a 4-way like the whole time, like since the 80s? Like they always.
The 4-way marriage materialized between 1982 and 1984. So I assume,
Is it still going strong? Do we know?
presumably, I don't know for sure, but I didn't see any signs that it had like stopped. But she doesn't really post
peak
that.
human evolution, what we're looking at right now. This person is like incredible.
Okay. So any questions about unicorn jelly before I move on to?
Where can I find it?
Oh, I think it's unicornjelly.com.
Is it like is that an official site? Is it still up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think
Still
that,
paying for hosting.
her website. I mean, you can find all her stuff through Otaku World, which is still up.
Holy
The Jennyverse, I think, is like the portal to all her stuff, and it leads to Unicorn Jelly, I think, is its own website. PastelDefender.com. To Save Her, I think, is on the Unicorn Jelly website because it's like a side story to that.
This is really cool.
Yeah. Well, okay, so obviously, we have meta knowledge of knowing that this person is a little bit kooky and a little bit strange, a little bit wacky.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend Unicorn Jelly? Like, is it good or is it bad? Or are we being lured in by how weird it is, or is it actually good?
It's kind of good. I mean, it is kind of awkward, and
Is it short? Is it long?
it's not that long. It's maybe like 200 strips. 200
Is it
something
good or is
strips.
it evil? Binary.
It's very
yes, no.
evil.
Okay.
It's super evil. I would say it's good. I'd say it's worth reading. The art is sometimes good, sometimes it's really like hilariously bad. And it's not that long, so.
Would you say Jennifer's more of an environment artist than a character artist?
Oh yeah, her character art is like pretty bad.
Okay.
It's actually really bad sometimes.
It seems like she's more of an environment creator in general than like a character.
She's an idea guy to the core.
Yeah. I mean, she has characters, but they're all pretty basic. All right. So that was 2000 to 2003. In 2004, she started, or I guess restarted, Pastel Defender Heliotrope as a webcomic. And this one takes place, now we know that it takes place in another universe called Pastel. In Pastel, there is not the energy force called electance that Trisselmeisten had. There is a 7-part force called chatoyance. That is it comes in red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple heliotrope. And they each do a different thing. Red is heat, orange is rotational energy, yellow is light, etc., etc. It's not that crucial to know all of them. But so there's this famous scientist, Dr. Nakimono, and he is the biggest celebrity in this world. Everybody loves him. He's a cool guy. He goes on talk shows and his second lieutenant, his right-hand man, is this guy, Dr. I think you say it Aoi?
That's Aoi.
Dr.
As in
Aoi?
blue. Means blue.
Okay. It's funny because he's purple. He's not blue.
That's a strange choice.
All right. But he's Dr. Aoi. And Dr. Aoi is this self-hating, self-flagellating, weak pervert.
The Benson.
Yeah. The first thing you see Dr. Aoi do is he goes to a sex shop and buys a fuck doll. And he drags it home, and he cries over it. He's like, I can't believe I'm such a loser. I would do this. I'm disgusting. So it's pretty
I get
base.
the feeling that this might be what her husband might be like.
Maybe it's what she feels like she's like. I don't know.
Could be.
So
She's clearly the Chad doctor.
Yeah.
It doesn't have these.
So Dr. Aoi works with Dr. Nakimono, and they are using chatoyance, or there's a phrase for solidified chatoyance. Specific, God, who cares? They use solidified heliotrope chatoyance to fuck around, in so many words, with a thing called an ancestral case. And an ancestral case it's literally a piece of luggage that was from the old, another universe. and they don't know where it came from. They just know that it pre-existed the world of Pastel, and therefore, like, the space inside of it is, like, attuned differently. Is like, so what they can do is they can use heliotrope chatterants to prod it, and it can cause, like, disturbances in the fabric of reality, and it can open up, like, holes, basically, into other worlds. And what Dr. Aoi and Dr. Nakimono are doing is they are trying to find other worlds for the people of Pastel to inhabit. And they're doing this with the blessing of the church. The Church of Godan is, like, a really powerful force in this world. But the thing is, they keep finding these worlds that are, like, random, right? They seem like they're full of acid, or like they're like just a black void, or like they're worlds that like suck the life out of everything, and it's like these are not fit for habitation, and they're like, we can't tell the church about this. If the church's teaching is that the world is made for humans to use, if they knew that like basically every universe is like a hellscape that is totally unfit for human habitation, it would be like blasphemous. They wouldn't accept it. They would like bury our institution. They wouldn't fund us anymore. They would erase our research. So we need to find a good universe to be like, look, we found one. It's a blessing of Godan. That's the only way that we're going to get to continue being famous scientists.
Is there a need for digital words? Are they like overpopulated or running out of resources? Or?
No, I think they just want to do it.
Okay.
Just for science. You know, the thrill of discovery. So
they already know God isn't real. We know that, but we're going to pretend.
Nakimono is pretty religious. Aoi is like not. I think Aoi doesn't really care.
Even in the face of discovering all these inhabitable worlds that violate the teachings.
Yeah, Nakimono's like, hey, I'm a religious man. I understand that there are some weird implications to all this research we're doing, but I still want to do right by the church, and like, I'm still a man of Godan. Okay, so
he's a Godan man.
Man. So anyway, they're fucking around. And they're going to universe after universe, and then they have a little accident. They have a little accident in this universe called Tlikitkatl.
Oh, I love that sound. That whole thing.
And I think is how you say
that feels good to hear.
Yeah, all right. So this world is like a real bad one. This is a world that like exists by like sucking up entropic energy from other worlds. Basically, it feeds on other worlds to exist itself. And while they're there, they go in these big like spacesuit mech things, basically. And while they're there, there's an accident. Dr. Nakimono gets lost. He gets like abandoned there. They have to leave him behind. But Dr. Aoi just recovers this like orb, this glowing orb that he calls the Omnipator, and he takes it home. And he's like, hey, my boss, the most famous man in the world, I just abandoned him in some hell world. And I'm fucked. Time to get drunk.
Time to fuck my fuck doll and feel bad about myself.
Yeah, that's what he does. So he gets drunk, and presumably he fucks his fuck doll. But for some reason, I guess he decides he like puts the Omnipator in the doll.
Oh no!
And it comes to life.
Oh no!
As Pastel Defender heliotrope.
Oh my god!
Wow!
It's a person.
Yeah. so he's like.
Wow.
So he wakes up, and the doll is talking to him, and he's like, "You gotta fucking stop that. we can't be having this. Give me that." And he takes the Omnipator
Is
out.
he
right?
simply frustrated that he can't fuck her if she's like putting up resistance or personality?
No, he's like,
I've spent like $100 to fuck you. I did not.
no,
Okay.
he's like, one, this is an abomination.
Okay.
2, you're not real anyway.
Okay.
Because you're not a real person, obviously. 3, this is really embarrassing.
I can't imagine a worse event than a sex doll coming to life and being disappointed.
No, the sex doll loves him. The sex doll comes to life and is like, because she doesn't know she's a sex doll. She thinks she's like a baby or a kid. She calls him Papa, and he's like, no.
Oh, that's even worse.
No, he's like, no, thanks. Let's just forget about this.
Yeah.
This guy's literally you.
So, anyway, let's talk about some of these other characters. We got Chartreuse is a student. She's like a science student at whatever university that Aoi and Nakimono. But she's like perpetually unlucky. She's like poor. She's in this like abusive relationship with this guy who like beats her, but he like pays for her to go to school, so like she can't leave. But then there's like a domestic dispute, and he kicks her out, and the police don't believe her. And she loses her job.
God, what the fuck?
Well, she was cohabitating before marriage, so she's a loose woman and not to be trusted.
Yeah.
Where am I?
So she loses her job. She tries to commit suicide. She walks to the. By the way, Pastel is kind of like Tristle Mystan in that it's made of world plates, but they're much closer together. You can see other world plates from your world plates. These ones are rectangular, not triangular. But same basic idea. So she walks to the edge of the world plate and she jumps off. And I forget how, but somehow, I think maybe because they go to the school and maybe she was carrying a transmitter on her or something, Dr. Aoi learns like, oh my god, someone just jumped off the edge of the fucking world. They committed suicide. I know there's like a superpower doll that like might be able to go do something about it, but like it would be really embarrassing if anyone saw that, but I guess I gotta do it, so... He puts the omnipoter back in, and he's like, "Go, save Chartreuse, and don't tell anyone that that you exist." And she's like, "Yes, Papa," immediately. And she does that, saves Chartreuse, and he's like, "Okay, cool. Now you go back to being a doll, please. Thank you." And Chartreuse is like, her life still sucks, right? She goes to get she gets fired from her job again. She's like homeless. So, like, everything's all fucked up. She takes, like, the last of her money, and she goes and she buys a fucking Destructor helmet, and she goes on a terrorist rampage. And that's the events of this game. The one you fight in this game is Chartreuse with the Destructor helmet.
Whoa.
Hello. Ben Saint here. Sorry to interrupt the lecture, but since I don't know when there would ever be another opportunity to show this on YouTube... Let me present, for the first time ever, the original 1998 Pastel Defender Heliotrope Kamishibai story. Enjoy. Well, there you have it. This was 6 years before the actual comic started. An interesting thing I think about it is that it references the cosmology of the world and previous interactions between the characters in a way that suggests that Jennifer must definitely have had not only the whole like world building, but also like the story, at least like heavily written or mostly written, but like way before she actually started the comic, which is interesting. Originally there are multiple choices. I skipped over the choices because they all just end in a game over. Pastel gets hit by the shot and explodes. Fuchsia wakes her up and says, go back and fight, and then you just do it over again. I skipped those. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I don't think anyone has ever uploaded this anywhere. You would have to get the original Kamishibai app in order to see it normally, so I saved you the trouble. Anyway, back to the lecture. Anyway, Chartreuse goes on a rampage, and Dr. Owie's like, well, guess I need someone with superpowers to do something about this again. So he wakes her up again, and she goes to go stop him. But on the way, she meets Fuchsia, who is this like bougie daughter of like some noble family or whatever, who is a lesbian, but her parents are like, that's not real. No, that's just a phase. That's not... You know, her parents are like, no, daughter of mine. You know, stuff like that. Pretty based. And but she meets her on the way, and Heliotrope and her have like a moment, and they're like, oh, this Heliotrope sure is dreamy, and Heliotrope likes her and whatever. But she beats Chartreuse, but she doesn't kill Chartreuse. She defeats her in combat, breaks her helmet, and then she's like, well, you're a desperately fucked up person, and there's no help for you. But here's what I can do. And she uses, oh god, there's a technique. It's like, I'm blanking on the name. I'll put it on screen, but it's like purity revivification beam or something, and it's just like a light beam that descends down on Chartreuse and basically just mind wipes her back to being a child. So she forgets all the bad stuff that happened to her that made her into the person she became. Name.
I noticed that we've got a lot of color themes here going on, all these names and stuff.
Yeah.
Does heliotrope mean something?
Heliotrope is a flower and also the shade of purple that flower is.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
All right.
Heliotrope is a color. And
is this drawn, by the way, in a different style from Unicorn Jelly?
It is not. Yeah, it is not drawn with just a mouse. Like Unicorn Jelly was very pixely. This is like more painted.
Which is better?
I would say that at its best, Unicorn Jelly is better.
It looks competent here and there.
I would say that at its best, Unicorn Jelly is more impressive.
Yeah.
But Pastel Defender Heliotrope has fewer times when like it just looks like real bad by accident.
Okay, first of all, two things. I just want to say that this is, from what I understand, that this is the most like erotic thing that Digibro can imagine. Like, this is not to all of the things that he likes. This is just that given voice.
Your sex doll becomes your daughter, and
yes. Also, I want to say that this like constantly switches back between like kawaii, slime, ooh, goo goo, slice of life, or Kokoro Wish, to like hard sci-fi mumbo jumbo, and then like weirdly gruesome like fucking like social carnage, like social revolution. Now redistribute the bread, like homeless people like stabbing children in alleyways, like weird sex doll illusions. It's
maybe
like
just put it in like my
scary things. I was just saying the
tone is just like yeah.
I'm just enthralled.
I think that's on purpose. I think that's...
Well, no, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to like hammer on about the autism thing, but like it is generally a trait of like almost all those types of comics. They always have like really crazy tone whiplash. Obviously, Sonichu being a pretty Tales Gets Trolled being a great example.
I feel like it's deliberate though here. Like I think the like...
Well, even if it is deliberate, I think there's just a tendency towards that type of storytelling in that like, you know... It's hard for me to explain why, but I think it's just the way that you think about stories. It's just different.
Well, when you're writing a story, there's probably some implicit, like, you want to guide the audience on a very specific kind of emotional coaster, and if you kind of lack that awareness, you're probably more like just a slam in between emotions real hard.
You're just thinking about what the story is in your mind, and not about like how it's going to feel to the audience when they read it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so, in this battle, Well, first of all, I'd like to say that after this battle against Chartreuse, the news reports on it. They see Pastel Defender Heliotrope. They're like, oh my god, a plastic superhero? What a scoop! And they, and they report on it. And they're like, and everyone's like, oh wow, so you're Dr. Owie's daughter? Cool. Does that mean you go to school? What school do you go to? And Dr. Owie's like,
Oh no.
I guess I gotta send her to school now. And he does, and that's what happens.
Does she start at kindergarten, or is she?
I don't know. No, I don't think she doesn't start at kindergarten.
Wait. How old is she physically? What does she look like?
She looks like this.
That does not answer the question.
There's some strange implications about the doctor,
right?
depending on this answer.
I mean, I don't know. Look, I'll show a picture of her on screen, and you, the viewer, can decide. I mean,
Doesn't help me.
she's sort of just cartoonish looking, right? She's not really like.
Does she look old enough that the daughter thing is the weirdest part?
She's got boobs.
All right.
She's like pretty small, but she's got boobs.
The title character of this comic only exists out of shame and embarrassment. Like, the only reason the plot moves forward is because the creator of her has to save face. That's the only reason why this is happening.
Yeah, he tried his best not to let her be a fully realized person, but he couldn't do it. But you know, as time goes on, right? She starts going to school. She starts dating Fuchsia, I guess. Aoi eventually gets over it, right? He starts to care about her.
Does he get over it? Does he replace her with a new sex bot? Is he able to fill this void in his life?
I don't think so. Actually,
oh man,
there is a scene later when it's like the Church of Godan is doing some like weird military coup thing, and she keeps getting damaged. And what he has to do is he has to go out and buy a whole bunch more sex dolls, because when she gets damaged, he has to take the Omnipotor out of the old body and put it in the new body, and then melt some of the plastic from the old body onto the new one, because it like has her memories in the body.
Sure.
So he has to just buy a bunch of like basically like extra lives for her in the form of like buying a whole bunch of new sex dolls.
Does she ever learn that the man she considers her father has blasted many loads into her?
I don't think so. I don't think it ever comes up.
Okay.
For her, that she's blissfully unaware of that knowledge.
Okay. But during that battle, an entity is watching. An entity is watching through Fuchsia's eyes, and this is an AI called Cursor, and in all caps. And Cursor is KY, but Cursor is KY, but it's like a puppet KY with button eyes. But it's not actually that. It's just a program. It's like a forward-facing operating system for Chow, not the girl, the computer that was made to like take control of all the ships and stuff in humanity. Here, so like.
This is like some Dark Tower continuity.
So Chow's operating system is like watching this unfold through the eyes of Fuchsia, and wait, hold on. There's a who told her to do that? Don't worry about it.
Can you remind me who Fuchsia is? I can't remember.
Fuchsia's
She's lesbian.
She's just a girl.
Oh, the lesbian.
She's just a girl.
Okay.
And who Pastel Defender Heliotrope likes, and they start dating after this happens. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, am I at the end already? I feel like...
What's Crawlney?
The Crawlney, okay. Well, they're an alien from another world, and they are involved in, like, the artifacts that Chow was explaining at the end of Unicorn Jelly. And Crawlney, we will come to learn later, are, like, a more advanced, like, dimension-hopping being. I don't remember why I put them here. I think they have something to do with but I forget. It doesn't matter. Okay, Cursor. There's got to be some reason why I mentioned Cursor. Okay, I'm pretty sure that basically they just live their life, right? There's like the Church of Godan does some stuff. It's eventually revealed that Godan is not a god. He's actually just like a human who like merged himself. He was like a scientist who merged himself with the jelly, and the jelly people can't live in this world very well because there's no electants. Jelly live on electants, and they have chatoyants in this world, and jelly don't live very well on that. So I'm not even sure why the jelly exists in this world at all, but they do, and Godan fused with them. And basically, time goes on, and they live out their lives, and Fuchsia and Pastel grow old and die together, right?
Okay.
And she's like, and Pastel, they live on a farm, they die. Pastel is like, her hair is all falling out, she's got like the doll, like, hair holes, you know what I mean? She's like, her eye fell, she's got like a fake leg and stuff, she's all cracked and shit.
What?
Swap our bodies. That's the thing they can do.
Well, she's like, Fuchsia got old and died, and she's like, yeah, once Fuchsia goes, I'm not going anymore. So she goes, it's like, well, time to die. She's going to take out her Omnipotor. But, Cursor, right? Cursor from Trisselmeistan. When she watched the battle, she went into like a dormant, like, she was told to do some weird fuckery, and then she told her, like, cyborg minions, like, hey, be good, guys, and wake me up in the future. And then they do. And in the future, like, at the end of time, Cursor awakens as Fuchsia, and Fuchsia, like, reawakens through this AI program, and then she goes back in time to her own dimension to find Pastel before she perishes, or before she pulls the orb out, and she's like, no, sorry you had to see me die, but actually I'm fine now, and I'm here from the end of time, come on with me. And they, like, restore their bodies, and they travel to this place. Yeah.
So it's not actually Fuchsia though, right? She's like possessed, or is she brought back to life?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I think this is supposed to actually be Fuchsia. I am not entirely clear on what the logic is by which Cursor transforms into Fuchsia.
It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
There might be an answer.
Okay.
I don't have it. I don't.
Seems.
I don't know it. I don't know how it works. But that's what happens. And so they're like ancient end of time space gods now, and they travel. I'm going to show on screen like the cosmological image. You can see like there's like these big time tubes going through the time void, and like off of them are shooting like. Okay, so Trisselmeistan, Pastel is like an offshoot bit of Trisselmeistan that's splintered out of it as like a beam of light splintering through a prism, which is why Electance was split into like the 7 colored Chatoyances, right?
Of course.
Naturally.
Elementary.
Yeah.
So if you combine them all, will it become again the other thing?
Kinda, yes. Because it turns out that what the Omnipotor is the universe of Pastel, which, if you look at it as a 4-dimensional time tube,
Yeah, right.
right? If this dimension is time, right? It expands through time, but then it like collapses back in on itself because the humano-jellies, which is what Godan is, they realized that this was the problem with their universe, is that there was no electance because of this split. And so they caused the universe at the end to double back in on itself and collapse into a single object, which is the Omnipotor. And the Omnipotor, because it is, I think, because it's this split universe recombined into a single object, it does emit electance. And they go and they place that in this, they place it over like a single world plate in Pastel, and it emits electance and it lets slimes live. The jellies can live now. And it's good.
This is above Galaxy Brain.
And that's basically it. That's the end of Pastel Defender Heliotrope. As she places the Omnipotor. Let me see if I've missed anything.
I'm impressed these all have endings too. Like you rarely see that.
Oh,
Or at least these two have endings. I guess I shouldn't say they all.
Okay, so like
Ben.
Cursor's minions created this evil universe because they like misunderstood Cursor's final command to them, and this was just like how they interpreted it. Basically, she said to be good, but they didn't know what good was, so they had to make something like really evil so that they could like measure goodness against it.
Okay.
But they put the Omnipotor in the place so the slimes can live, and the humans and slimes can live in peace together, and they won't have to be war if they choose for not to have to be any war. And happy ending, but then it's like far in the future, like beyond the end of time.
Fucking time skips in these stories, man.
Everyone is Data. Some entity, this is its name, just like revives them all as like pure Data. And I think like the last thing that happens is like a like magical like digital like Data version of Dr. Owie is like, hey guys, it's my birthday, happy birthday, cool. And that's it. That's what happens.
Is it fair to call these things stories? Like,
Yeah,
they're like
they have characters and they're a sequence of events.
They're just a sequence of events. It feels like
They're more like lorries.
Yeah. Exactly. Like there's a premise.
Oh.
The premise continues until people grow old and then they die.
I see
And
what you mean.
There's no like plot. Really.
I see what you mean.
Well, it's beyond that because it's more like she kind of goes to the end of the universe.
Yeah.
Which I totally get why you would have the mindset of like, I want to follow this universe from its literal start to its literal end, and like just even if it's not all relevant to the story, just to have like it tacked in there.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Sometimes, yes, it does feel like the story is more of just an excuse to display these really like elaborately constructed like
She is
world
a
line
literal,
time.
omnipotent god creating and destroying her own pocket universes.
I wish I had on me that image of like all the like the world lines that all like intersect and like twist around each other and like how they're all related to each other. It's pretty fucking neat. But anyway, that's Pastel Defender Heliotrope.
Cool.
It goes to the end of time.
And it died right when Obama was born. 2008.
I'm already like unironically deeply inspired by what I've learned from
Yeah.
this story.
I feel enriched.
I don't blame you.
Like legit, like I'm working on a story that will require me to go to a level kind of like this in the last book, and now
You have
I'm
to
kind
go
of-
beyond
now
galaxy
I've kind
brain.
of got ideas for how
She-
I'm gonna do that.
She really goes the extra mile because she doesn't just like write the story and do the comics. She does like she does like audio dramas, and she comes up with like she like designs like board games that the people play in these worlds.
Yeah, what?
That's really cool.
There's one called they play a game called Tassen in it's like Chinese checkers but on like a triangular board but with chess pieces kinda. And they like she just
Are
designed
these
that
games
game.
like functional IRL, like,
There are rules for them, yeah.
but are they like functional?
You would have to build your own
They
set.
can be played, but no one ever has.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if I built my own set and I abided by the rules, could I have a
Yeah.
real game? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a design. I don't know if it's any good.
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of what I meant, like functional, like like if
I-
I like
I don't know.
do the rules work? Is, I
Time
guess,
for
what I'm
shekels for
trying to-
heckles. Well,
Shekels for Heckles Tossin edition.
Yeah.
I don't know. But she makes it and she does the audio dramas and like she really goes all out. It's very impressive. You can tell that this is like her like as long as she was working on it, like this was what she was doing with her life. Like this is what her mind was on. And there's a lot of it. So the last the last of the three like major story comics that she wrote is called To Save Her. And To Save Her is basically, I guess it's kind of a side story to Unicorn Jelly.
It was happening at the same time as Pastel Defender Heliotrope,
Yes.
apparently, right?
They were running like more or less at the
Yeah.
same time as each other. To Save Her it's also in black and white. Like Pastel Defender Heliotrope is color. To Save Her is black and white, but it's also like painted in sort of the same style. It's kind of like noir inspired, or it's supposed to be kind of a noir thing.
Question mark.
Maybe. She describes it as noir. So it takes place on Trisselmeistan again. However, it takes place across multiple splays, which basically just means alternate timelines, right? So like slightly different variant timelines in which like something slightly different happened, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's,
sure.
So the main character is KY. Again, this mutant who Chow dissected in Unicorn Jelly. So KY is still alive in this particular splay, and we come to understand that the Stormfall, the event that like destroys the all of the plates, all the world plates in Trisselmeistan, it happens in 80% of all worlds, all splays, timelines. But in 20% of them, it doesn't happen. And that 20% were saved because of Chow. Like her her leadership or her like scientific understanding, the things that happened because of her interference, managed to prevent the Stormfall from destroying all life in 20% of all the timelines. And so in this world, you can travel between splays freely if you have like a device to do so, but you're not allowed to go to Stormfall splays because those are off limits, those are dangerous. But you can go to any of the safe splays freely. But she wants to go and find Chow because she knows that what happened to Chow was that she got old and she died a horrible death. Her fucking crystal blood exploded, and she wants to save her. And
Did Chow like dissect her?
yes.
For the greater good.
But she says that Chow basically saved the universe, or a part of it, and it's not fair that like she was left to die.
How very utilitarian.
So she basically recruits a team of teenagers with attitude.
Yeah.
Well, not really. Actually,
Aw.
she recruits characters from Unicorn Jelly, from different like timeline variants, to get a team together. She gets into a timeline hopping machine, and she goes from timeline to timeline. And first, she finds a version of Commander Foe, the guy who led the Jelly's genocide on what do you call it? On the new planet or world plate that they went to. And in this timeline, he has Uni, who in this one is called Only. I think because he was the only slime to survive on that plate. And he doesn't have the unicorn horn, but it's the same slime. And she goes to another and she gets him, and she's like, "Oh, you're so old, you're so decrepit, but here, sit in this pod." And it makes him immortal, and it fixes all his wounds. And he's like, "Whoa, you can do that?" And she's like, "Yes." And they have like a romance, sort of. This like old guy who she makes young again. And by the way, KY, the thing about KY in To Save Her is that she is wearing an endoskeleton. Slimes can like have this like metal endoskeleton that they can just like squeeze their bodies around and become sort of human-ish looking. So she just kind of looks like a slime girl.
Like Colossus
Who?
from the X-Men.
Metal.
He turns into metal.
No, she's like slimy flesh over like an interior,
Forgive me, as an endoskeleton.
skeleton bones. Yeah. But
It
it
took
like
me a second too. I was like, wait.
she puts it on and she basically turns into like a normal looking girl, but like she's teal, right? Because she's like teal colored slime flesh. But then it like malfunctions and like and she like fucks up, and it just turns her into sort of like a blob face, like just two like big glassy like slime eyes. So she just kind of looks a little bit fucked up, but she's like, "Oh, I guess I'll just roll with it." And it doesn't matter at all. Foe like falls in love with her anyway. It's sort of like a thing for some reason. I don't know. And they go to another universe and another timeline, and they find Texto, the psychopathic murderer guy, who in this timeline is called Virtue, and he's like a warrior monk.
Okay.
And they go and they find another version of the engineer builder guy YY, who is called Wailani, and he's like a street urchin in this world. And he's like, "Oi, governor, oi, chimney sweep, mate."
What the fuck?
I'm not joking. I'm not fucking kidding about any of this. And that's it. That's what she like gets them all together. All right, but it turns out that she, KY, K for short, K was not the only K to have this idea. In fact, in every non-Stormfall world, KY is not killed and dissected by Chow. And so in all those worlds, basically all surviving KYs were like, "I'm going to go and I'm going to save Chow." So there are actually like infinite numbers of different KYs who also have infinite variant groups of alternate timeline these guys.
Yeah.
So like, imagine these 5 dudes, but like they're all like dressed differently and they have different accents and stuff, and sometimes they're girls and sometimes they're boys and
Homestuck
stuff.
is looking a lot less original.
Huh?
Homestuck is looking a lot less original by the second.
Yeah. So and then okay. So they're all on their ship, right? They're all going place to place, finding each other, finding their crew members, and then one day they're going through the space between dimensions, and another ship, like a ghostly echo, passes through their ship, and they see themselves, but Texto is on the ground. He's dead. He's been shot in the head. K is holding the gun, and everyone else is like, what? And also KY is missing the top of her head. But it doesn't matter because she's a slime. That's not a lethal blow. So everyone's like, okay, so that was probably like an alternate version of us, right? Who like, and I guess things went bad for them. Okay, that sucks, but what are you gonna do? And then so they go to another world and they find this girl called Vola, and she, in this world, like this final world that they go to, they have technology from the Kralny. And the Kralny, you finally get to see one. It's like this weird, it's like a big like mushroom, but like its head is like two discs that like is not even attached to each other, but it's got teeth all around it, and it's extra dimensional, right? Like its body doesn't connect to itself because it extends through multiple dimensions, and that's how it connects. So it doesn't even have to like touch itself to be like a single entity, if you understand. So they have like a Kralny ship here, which is way more advanced than their machine, and they fuck around with it, and like the Kralny kills like alternate versions of themselves. There's like as they go from place to place, they end up accidentally like they get back onto their ship, only they find that it's actually the ship of a different group from a different splay, and they're like, I guess we'll just have to work with it. And that's just basically like what the whole. It's just a sequence of weird like alternate timeline shenanigans occurring, and like noir romance between Foe and K. And so they get their final party member. It's Vola from this world of the Kralny. So they get out of there because it seems like the Kralny wants to stop them, but then the Kralny like gets onto their ship and it grabs K, but then it lets her go, and its motivations aren't really clear. It seems like he does want her to do whatever she's doing. There's a big like multi-universal like gathering of all the Ks. Like all these different Ks from all these different dimensions, all the ones that survived, all gather together to like discuss their plan. And they say like one of them isn't there. Like one K didn't make it to this gathering. What could she be? Did she go crazy or did she die? I don't know. Nobody knows. So everyone eventually is like, hey K, so you told us you didn't really explain the plan that well. Could you please tell us why we're doing all this? And she's like, okay, you got me. It's not just about saving Cho. It's actually about stopping the Stormfall. I'm going to prevent the Stormfall in every universe. I'm going to go back to the beginning of time, and I'm going to prevent the Stormfall in every universe and save those other 80% of all timelines. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. But it turns out, yes, that's technically true. But really, what she wants to do is she wants to go and get Chow. She hates Chow. She wants revenge on her for dissecting her. And she wants to travel back in time, and she will prevent the Stormfall by preventing humanity from ever coming to that Trisselmeisten in the first place. So she's going to retroactively wipe out humanity and thereby prevent the Stormfall and make a perfect world, only slime, no humans, fuck the humans. Yeah.
And is this just one KY who wants to do this, or is this collectively all KYs will this?
I don't know.
Okay. But
I'm
is
not
this what
sure.
they all are doing together?
There are other KYs. I am not entirely clear on whether the other KYs had pure intentions and this one is like a crazy renegade one, or whether they all secretly wanted
But
this.
we're dealing with just one for our purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, they go to the end of time, and there's like a time museum, and they're like, oh, we gotta stop her. We gotta go fight her. Prevent her from doing this. They do that. It doesn't really work. She gets them on the ship. She takes them to another splay. She's like, everybody, get the hell out. Except you, Texto. I know you're evil and you want to do it. And he's like, yeah, I do. I want to destroy the world too. It's cool. But they get back on the ship, and the other ones sneak back on, and it turns out, no, that vision they had was not an alternate version. They actually passed their own future timeline, and it comes to pass that they get in a fight. Texto thought he was safe, because he thought once they landed on the ship, it meant they couldn't come true anymore. But they get in a fight, K shoots him, he dies, the hull breaks, YY gets thrown out into the space, and I think it's just Foe and K are the only ones that survive. And they crash land on. I think they crash land on some version of Trisselmeistan, where the Minyan, which are like the servants of Cursor, right? The thing that sort of became Far Future Fuchsia. Those things like greet them, and I don't know. The ending's really vague. They end up on some version of Trisselmeistan, and it's cryptic.
I love that it's at the point now we're talking about anything. You have to like talk about everything else in the board.
Yeah, that's the alternate timeline version of this, who was an AI recreation of this. Yeah, basically. And this thing that created Cursor. No, this thing didn't create Cursor, but it awoken Cursor and told Cursor to do the thing with Fuchsia and to tell the Minyan to be good, which caused them to create click.
Yeah.
And this, I think that this thing is. Oh, I forgot to mention they do go and find Chow right at the moment of her death, and they like retrieve her body and like recreate her in like a vat of like crystal goo, and like sort of clone her basically, and have her like crystal mind inside. And I'm pretty sure that version of Chow in like the far future becomes this like computer spirit entity, which is this thing, which sort of created Cursor. It's all very vague. I wish I had like a more concrete ending for you, but that's pretty much where it ends. Hippo.
So wait, did you mention what Minyan was?
Minyan are these like robot alien things who are. I think they were created by Chow, the computer, and they are in like the far, far future of Trisselmeistan. They are like the creatures that inhabit it, and they serve the like computer AI brain, it seems, and they end up, they're told to be good, and they're like so advanced that they don't like have any metric for goodness, so they create clickle
Right.
to like as some sort of means of determining good from right from wrong.
Literally like minions, like minions.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's a pun. Yeah.
Like banana, like minions.
Like
I
boomer
am
boomer
Groot.
memes like Minion.
Yes. Good.
Yeah. Well, shit. Okay. Any questions about any of that?
Besides what?
I've kind of got a veil of mystery.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I
get
sort
the
of
general idea.
fell off like understanding after heliotrope.
there was a sharp incline in confusion
Yeah.
recently.
I mean, I'll be honest. To save her is really like I've read it through twice, and I don't quite understand what is implied by the ending. I don't understand exactly like where they end up, or like I don't know whether it was all the K's doing the thing or just one of them. It's all.
I see a lot of question marks. Over there.
This like this one's like particularly frustrating. But I don't know, viewers at home, if you want to give it a read and let me know if I missed anything in the comments and tell me what I got wrong.
Why do you
Go
think
for it.
all of this is related to the mental breakdown in 2000?
Okay, yeah, that's the last thing. All right, so this
They're
is
gonna
all.
sit down like a pastor and rap with us.
Yeah, like the backwards chair.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Multiverse. Well, so the way this relates to the Kokoro Wish, and I have it all spiraling out from the Kokoro Wish, is that she said in her 2005 comic, Impossible Things Before Breakfast, she said that she had a mental breakdown in 2000 after 14 years of trying and failing to make games. And it turns out that 14 years before that, in 1986, she, Jennifer, and her husband, Steven, had designed a like text Bible and like prototype version of a video game. And the video game was called Multiverse. And what Multiverse was basically imagine No Man's Sky on the Amiga, right? No, like
having difficulty.
no, but for real.
So like procedurally generated planets, or
Yeah, you would. There are screenshots.
I mean, maybe if it's completely text-based, it could...
Yeah.
It's
Then there'd be a lot, though, right? Like,
yeah, like Dwarf Fortress style.
that's what I'm thinking. But even that, like, imagining the amount of processing that we needed for that.
Are we sure this is real? They really
Yes.
did this?
Yeah, there are
Well, they
there,
really made a
there,
Bible.
there are
Multiverse
screenshots.
and No Man's Sky were both unfinished, clearly.
They made a Bible. They didn't actually
No,
make
there are
it.
screenshots of the game. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a completed game,
Is this
but
whole thing a Ben St. LARP that you just made up?
it looks like, imagine like kind of like Atari style, like graphics of. I'll be showing a bunch of them on screen right now, but like 2-dimensional pixel based, like just kind of like a sort of, kind of like flat landscapes basically that have like some of them have like weird shapes and weird colors. Yeah, basically you would go in Multiverse. You would go from the Kralny. It was the Kralny planet, and you would take dimensional movers like the ones that Kay travels from dimension to dimension to save her, and you would go and explore randomly, like procedurally generated alien worlds, like in No Man's Sky. And so that's it. That's my thesis. Is basically her Kokoro Wish was to create Multiverse, and she sold the rights to it to Activision. Activision for I think $10,000.
That actually happened?
Yes, it happened.
Oh.
They bought the rights to the game, but then Activision folded, and like she got the rights back, but the deal. Did I just miss? But the deal fell through, and the game was never made. And I guess she blamed her husband for it because she made the Kokoro Wish comic. And yeah. So that was the Kokoro Wish. And so because it went unfulfilled in video games,
she got fed up like waiting, I guess, and just made it herself.
well,
kind of.
yeah, like
Via comics.
basically the ideas of what would have been Multiverse ended up becoming the setting of Unicorn Jelly, Pastor Defender Heliotrope, and to save her. And so, I don't know, next time you see Kokoro Wish,
So she was just
think about all this bullshit.
She was just so ahead of her time that she had to wait for webcomics to be invented
yeah.
because there was no other way.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, since we've heard so much about Jennifer, like, you said that she and Steven together made the Bible and stuff. How much, is there any way to quantify how much of this was like his ideas versus hers, or?
Not really.
Okay.
There's only like a very short like page describing what Multiverse was on her website.
Bet that like the actual plot was probably all her idea.
It feels like
the
it.
programming end of this. Like,
It seemed like just from her like fixation on like weird science fiction stuff. It seems like she'd be the one to come up with like, what if you could go to like a randomly generated world and it would have its own physics and its own vegetation, its own animal life, and that just feels like really, something that she would do and then say, hey, husband, program this for me. Thank you. And then after To Save Her, she didn't make any more comics, as far as I know. She's done like a couple. She like helped co-write like a book, I think, and I guess she was posting on the Gaming Steve forums while we were waiting for Spore to come out.
When was that? What year was that?
2012, I think.
Okay.
And no, earlier. No, like 2007. So it would have been like while this was still going on. And I remember she was posting, like she would use the early release like Spore Creature Creator. And I remember her posting the Crawl Me, where she used like glitches to like make like mouths that didn't attach to the rest of the body and stuff to like simulate the effect of it.
Was Impossible Things Before Breakfast not a comic?
It is a comic, but it's an autobio comic. It is just, it's only like 20 pages.
At the same time as The Saver.
Yeah.
Right.
And each one is just a recounting of some like inexplicable phenomena that happened to her in her life.
Okay.
And then after 2009, there were no more comics. And then in 2012, Jennifer started writing Friendship is Magic, My Little Pony fan fiction under the name of Chatoyance, which is the name of the thing in the thing. And she writes stories in the Friendship is Optimal and the Conversion Bureau alternate universe.
Whoa. Do those join with the Rift Cafe in any significant way?
I don't know. I haven't read them, and I don't intend to.
Why not?
Comments. Let me know if they're any
You
good.
prepared this lecture and you didn't even read all the source
I
material?
don't fucking care about it. Get this out of here.
Friendship is optimal.
Did you?
To be clear, like Friendship is Optimal and the Conversion Bureau are other fanfics, not written by her, that have like huge followings and tons of people write in their universe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's writing her stories in the universe of those fanfics.
Yeah, these are
That's
like
why Ben's like, fuck that, I'm not reading.
these are like alternate universes for My Little Pony that other people like wrote a story in, and then more people were like added and contributed
So it's
to.
like fan fiction of fan fiction.
Yeah. Yes.
And I see
There's a
you
lot
have
of that
little
on fanfic.
question marks down there, I guess, because the future is unknown.
Yeah, the spiral continues into the far
It
future.
always does.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what's she up to? I mean, she's alive still.
She's
Is
on
she-
YouTube.
Yeah?
Vlogs.
I think
or
she
video essays.
just
or-
like her talking into a camera like at a bar or something.
at
At a
a
bar.
I think that was like last year. She like sings a little song, I think.
We're talking about like a single video, not like a series or anything.
She doesn't post regularly.
Okay.
But she's just she's 60 years old. She's occasionally posts a video to YouTube. I think she made a comment on FimFiction like a week ago. So she's still she's still active on there.
Was any of this ever like popular or financially salted? Did any of this ever go anywhere?
No.
Oh, son of a bitch,
No.
there is no God.
No.
How well known was this at like the...
She was
Kokoro Wish is a big meme.
She
if
was
nothing else.
probably, she wasn't like Chris Chan well known, but she was maybe a little less well known than like Ula Lilia,
Yeah.
who is like, some people know who that is.
Wait. Okay, so she's a lol.
She was kind of a lolcow, but not like a hugely well known.
Yeah.
Mostly because she's not really that cringy.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say.
Yeah.
She just
For-
seems like a really
for-
creative, dedicated artist.
For a
She's
while,
really cool.
it was popular to just
This is like proof there are good boomers in the world.
there are websites that are like your webcomic sucks and stuff. Who's like their whole MO is like call webcomics bad, and sometimes webcomics are bad, and like it makes sense to just trash them. And sometimes comics like this get like lumped in with that. And I think there was a perception that, Jennifer Diane Reitz, she made all those really bad webcomics. And maybe to some people that's true, but I think I've made the case that like there actually is a lot of stuff to appreciate here. And it would be like a huge disservice, just be like, Unicorn Jelly, that bad comic. Gotcha. There's more to it than that.
Between this and One Piece, my mind has been so expanded to the possibilities.
Hey
of
Ben,
Yeah.
there's some audience questions as well that you wanted to answer.
The PTA.
Oh.
The PTA. I have one pulled up here.
Do you guys want to look at those and maybe ask some? Maybe.
Well, I have a really important question while you guys are getting those questions ready. I just want to say, Ben, my favorite part of this lecture was all the slime, and I like slime-related media. I was
Yeah.
wondering if there was any other sorts of things that like involved slime as like an integral part of its universe.
Maybe there's a lecture about such a thing as well.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be a lecture coming out soon about just such another slime
Click
world.
on screen right now to see that shit,
Link in the
dude.
description. RFCK lecture,
Put
baby.
a card. Put a card in the corner.
Card in the corner.
Yeah.
Little thing coming down
Yeah,
like there.
yeah,
I never do those, but maybe I can learn
Me and
how.
Ben make a slime thing. Click on it now.
True.
Can I read one of the questions?
Yeah.
For our PTA from here at Radcon 4, we have a question from Happy D. And of course, we already talked about this. Can we get an answer from everyone in the room? What is your Kokoro wish?
I'm gonna go last.
Munch, you're first.
Oh God, no! Jesus Christ! I want to just fucking fulfill my duty to my clan and to my nation. I want to make my father proud to have had me.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I mean this sort of stuff is like we were saying, really inspiring. It's just super creative, and like even if it's not like successful, it's the sort of thing I want to do.
I mean, she did sell books. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know how many sold.
I mean, you gotta live, but like
Yeah.
being famous is not like the goal. It's like to create something so dense and so like personal and cool.
So dare I say, base.
Like, yeah, my Kokoro wish is to make this.
Sick.
How about you, Jesse?
Okay, so you know how in the 80s, in the 1980s, Stephen King was hooked on cocaine. And all he did was sit in his cocaine mansion writing 6 novels a day and making millions and millions of dollars. That's my Kokoro wish. I want to be Stephen King on cocaine, writing 6 novels a day. But me.
Of course. I guess mine is, I feel right now, my Kokoro Wish, it may change, but it definitely is to do more actually creative media creation stuff like this and make a story that makes people feel good about stuff and maybe helps them out in living their lives in some useful way. Something like that.
Tom?
Yeah, my Kokoro Wish is to make something really fucking cool that gets people as hype as I get hype about my favorite things.
My Kokoro Wish is that within 5 years, there will be someone doing a lecture on the Chiro Corporation Megatunnel. You'll all know what that means when the time comes.
We're all like kind of like pulling something out of our ass, and Digi's like been dreaming about this question for years.
Well,
what about you, teacher?
We can't release this video because Digi just said that. We're gonna get fucking. Our family's gonna get on the list.
my Kokoro Wish.
No, I'm just talking about a story that I am making that I hope one day will have lectures written about it because I want it to be as complex.
You want to be this person.
I feel like I'm sitting in a room with the Unabomber, and he's like, someday they'll all see, and you guys are all a part of it officially.
My Kokoro Wish is that you, the viewer, like, comment, and share this video with everyone you know. Go to saintcomics.com and read my other shit that I made. And go to patreon.com/BenSaint and give me money for it, because that's how I make money. Dab!
You know, none of the other questions are good,
Cool.
in my opinion. I think we should just end it right there.
Right on. Perfect. Perfect ending. Class dismissed.
Slime.
Jelly.